Yo, we back with the next episode of Scrap the Culture That's Killing Us, Incarceration, Part 2. But before we dive into this and we get started, please hit that like button. Please subscribe. You can follow me on YouTube at Mr. Gamble 777. 2, you can follow me on IG at Mr. Gamble 777. Before we get started, I want you to know that I am a voice crying in the wilderness. Just a voice. Let's dive right into this. Part 1, we talked about incarceration. Part 2, we're talking about incarceration. I want to talk to you about incarceration because I want to talk to you about scrapping this culture that we have in our community and our thirst and hunger for incarceration. That's right. I want to talk to you about our thirst and hunger for incarceration. I want to give you some stats. You can look this up online. Just look up Beyond the Whole Pie. That's talking about poverty, race, gender disparities, incarceration. All this is based around incarceration. Let me give you some numbers real quick. Black people make up 12% of the population in America. Let me say that again for those who don't know. Black people make up 12% of people in America, but yet we make up 38% that is incarcerated. Let me say it again. We make up 38% that's incarcerated in facilities across America. And not only do we make up 38% that's incarcerated in America, on probation, we have 2.9 million people in America that's on probation. We got 770,000 people that's on parole in America. The whole pie. So let me put it into layman's terms. We got the starters already at 38% that's already incarcerated. Then we got the bench players, those that's on probation, waiting to get into the game. Waiting to get into the game. But if I could be your fullback for a second, let me do a little blocking for you. Because if you're getting ready to take this trip, if you're getting ready to take this walk down that aisle, let me be a voice crying out to you first. What does incarceration do to you? Sometimes we only think about incarceration as the part that's being behind bars. Incarceration strikes out like throwing a rock against water and watch the ripple effect. It reach way beyond those bars. It reach way beyond those bars. Having a record actually destroys opportunities to gain wealth. It actually creates debt. And it actually decimates jobs. opportunities. It decimates job opportunities. You heard me talk about that in the first episode. You got to give yourself a chance, but you kill your chances once you walk this out. Jail just doesn't affect you while you're behind bars. Jail is a lifelong sentence. A lifelong sentence. So if you think about playing this game, you think about the shoot 'em up, bang, bang, you think about the robberies, you think about the stealing, those are momentary acts that you're committing, but it's going to have a lifelong effect on your life. A lifelong effect. I'm speaking out because I'm tired of hearing conversations amongst old heads and young bucks like it's cool for you to go to jail. I'm getting tired of seeing people pat people on the back like it's your turn. Tag you in. Why would you sell your God-given birthright as an American citizen and throw it all away? Why would you gamble that and roll the dice on that? Do you know that you can do something in 5 minutes, get incarcerated, but now you got a forever life sentence? Even if you're not serving a life sentence behind bars, you actually sentence yourself as a life sentence for the rest of your life. You cannot partake of every God-given birthright as an American citizen that you should be able to partake of as being a born or natural born American citizen. You can't have those rights because you committed a crime? One of the first things I found out when I went to scratch my head, right? As I was scratching my head, is that as an American citizen, a born American citizen, right? After incarceration, that I could not get federal grants and funding to go to college. So if you want to be out there slinging and banging them drugs, if you get convicted of a drug violation, a felony drug violation offense, you kill your opportunities unless you go in your own pocket and pay for college. You have no right to no federal grants. You actually can't even get assistance from the federal government at all because of that. Incarceration. I hope y'all out there following me. Following the systematic way of decimating yourself. It's not cool to go to jail. It's not cool. It's not a cool thing to be incarcerated. It's not a cool thing. Let's start looking at the whole picture here. Let's start looking at the whole pie. Stay out the game and stay off the bench. Stay off the bench, stay off probation. Stay out the game, stay out the prisons. So when you hear me saying scrap the culture that's killing us, incarceration is one of the things that's killing us. Sometimes literally and sometimes figuratively. But all the time, down the line, there's a ripple effect that's happening behind the scenes and in front of your face because you were incarcerated. Because you made a choice to be play the Wild Wild West game. Because you made a choice of rolling the dice and gambling with your life. You made that choice. You made a choice to stand before a judge And as the judge following guidelines, not looking at you, okay, according to this number, according to this stat, you should get this much time, and not care about or value your life. They don't have time to value your life. They value what's on that black and white, what's on that book, what's on their guidelines that they set out. I am the voice. It's crying, telling you it's not worth it. Young people, listen. Listen. I'm not the old head that's telling you it's cool to be in jail or to go and catch wreck. I'm not that guy. It's yard out season right now. It is yard out. I'm calling everybody out. Let's start talking to these young bucks. Let's start telling these people out here. Let's start telling these young black males that you ain't got to take that route. Let's start telling them it ain't cool to be locked up. There ain't no badge of honor. But it's a badge that's stripping away everything that you're going to ever have to, for the rest of your life. It's a badge. Incarceration, no matter how much they try to play around with the stats, and they try to start a program here or do this there or do this here and do that there. It's like plucking one strand of hair out your head and leave the whole rest of the head full of hair. It's a long way for any of those actions to get done. You don't have to go to jail. You don't have to commit crimes that take away your life, that take away your birthright, that take away your citizenship. Being a convicted felon, being incarcerated, makes you an alien in your own country. Scratch your head and think about that for a minute. That's crazy, right? It's mind-boggling, right? You commit a crime, you become alienated in your own country where you was born at. Your birthright get stripped away from you because you was incarcerated, because you committed a felony, because you committed a crime. And no matter how short of a time it took for you to commit that crime or commit that act, it take a lifetime away from you. So 5 minutes can change your life forever. 5 minutes. No matter how much glory you might have had or you might felt that you had in that 1 month or that 4 months or that 5 months or that 6 months, it pales in comparison to that 20 years they're going to give you. Your daydreams and your glory days within your first year in jail, that shit all fades away. Because most of us ain't have no long runs. Playing the game. Listen, I am a voice crying in this wilderness. If ain't nobody tell you young people out there, your life is worth more than that. You owe it to yourself. If you don't owe it to nobody else, you owe it to yourself to enjoy your life. Not in a way that's detrimental to your life. not in a way that it strips away your life and all of your rights that come along with it for a quick enjoyment. Not that way. People always tell the good side of being incarcerated. Nobody tell you about the long nights we hear people crying in themselves, grown men. It's nothing like the hearing the sound of grown men crying in a cell, wishing they can go home, wishing they had another chance, wishing they can take back the mistake. And a lot of them people can't take back the mistakes and they ain't never come home again. Never. The whole pie. So every time you think about this, I want you to think about this. There's 2.9 million people in America that's on probation. That's a lot of people, right? 2.9 million people. It's 1.9 million people in correctional facilities all over in America. There's 770,000 people that's on parole. Do the math. Do the math. You don't have to play with your life. You don't have to roll the dice and gamble on your life. You don't want to be the one to squander away your opportunities. You don't want to be the one who squander away your God-given birthrights. One of the most things that always stuck in my mind like a bad nightmare is when I stood in front of that judge and the judge didn't value the human being that was standing in front of him. And it almost tickled him to know that he was getting ready to yardstick me out. You know, like baseball, out of here. And there was nothing nobody can do about it. And it went from one nightmare to another nightmare. And after that nightmare, my freedom to another nightmare. All because I made choices that were detrimental to my life. Scrap the culture that's killing us. So when you hear me saying scrap the culture that's killing us, right? Think about ideologies, traditions that we pass down from one generation to another like it's a badge of honor.